falling leaves, dropping temperatures.
Winter's coming.
Are you prepared? Is your home safe to turn that heater on?
Don't rely on 25-year-old technology in your house.
Is your car ready for freezing temperatures and icy roads? We're working for you to make sure you and your family are winter ready.
Good evening. I'm 2Works for You Chief Meteorologist Mike Collier. In just a few minutes, I'll share with you my complete winter forecast. First, though, our commitment to keeping you safe. It starts with a team of 5 meteorologists with a combined 65 years of experience, a state-of-the-art storm-chasing vehicle, and a weather center filled with the latest technology. It all adds up to Green Country's certified most accurate forecast, 12 years and counting. When winter weather strikes, you can count on us to be live on air, KJRH.com, and in our 2Works U weather app. We'll also update you live on our 5 Scripps radio stations here in Green Country. We're ready for winter, and the city of Tulsa says they are too. Meteorologist Kirsten Horn is here, and Kirsten, you just talked to the city of Tulsa about some of the new equipment they have this year.
Yeah, that's right. They have more than 12,000 tons of salt and 67 trucks. 49 of those have mounted plows on them. They also have another tool this year to help keep you safe.
We feel we're pretty ready to go. We also have the addition of brine system this year, so we'll have 2 trucks outfitted with tanks where we can spray a brine solution on the ground, which will help keep the frozen precipitation from sticking to the roadway.
The city sets priorities when it comes to what gets cleared first. At the top of the list is public roads around hospitals and emergency facilities. And then after those areas are cleared, then they focus on roads around schools. Mike?
If you're a parent like me, schools are always top of mind. But how do schools determine if they will shut down or have a delay? Meteorologist Tav Price found out it's slightly different depending on where you live.
To have school or not have school, that is a question facing school districts across Oklahoma during the winter season. Making that decision often means waking up early to get a first-hand look at the conditions.
So I'll get up about 2 o'clock and look out the door, and then I'll get up about 3:30, and if we've got any moisture, I start driving these.
Smaller school districts may only have 1 or 2 employees making the decision to close school, while bigger districts send out more.
We have 5 or 6 that get out and drive around, some from here at Transportation and then other leaders throughout the district, including the superintendent. And we get out there and drive and then periodically check in with each other and stop, make some phone calls and see what others are seeing.
When making this decision, each school district has certain areas that can be dangerous during winter weather. In Jinx,
this is a tough area. This is 33rd West Avenue, and a bunch of buses go up and down this. This isn't just one or 2 buses that travel this area. This is 15, 20, 25 buses that'll be going up and down this road.
And in Skiatook,
it's just an area that gets no sunshine during the day, and it turns to ice, and it's got some steep. It's a short, narrow road that's on a winding curve that's real dangerous for us.
And it doesn't even have to be large hills or curves to cause problems.
A lot of times the main highways, the expressways, will be cleared off and will actually sometimes even be dry, but you get back into a neighborhood where it's not been treated and you're going to end up finding really slick conditions.
Districts usually coordinate with adjacent districts on conditions they are seeing.
We normally get with Collinsville and sometimes Sperry because we've kind of all got the same terrain.
With Union being right beside us, a lot of our weather hits pretty similar, so it stays fairly consistent across some of the districts here on the south. Sepulpa, Glenpool, Bixby. It helps to have them.
In the end, the decision to cancel school comes down to student safety.
If we can't get to all of our kids, we normally cancel school.
I also talked with Tulsa Public Schools, and they are implementing some changes to their procedures. We'll keep you up to date on those changes when they are put into place. Mike?
One of the major concerns when we have a winter storm is the roads. Meteorologist John Haverfield is here. Now, John, driving on ice can be a little tricky, but you got some tips for us, right?
Yeah, that's right. I actually got a lesson on the Oilers ice rink. So we wanted to demonstrate what it's like to actually drive on ice. So we came down to the Tulsa Oilers hockey rink inside the BOK Center. I'm with my friend Rob from AAA. We're going to actually see what it's like. Rob, you ready?
I am.
Let's do it. So we're going to attempt to go forward here. I'm driving on the ice, and I can already feel a little bit of turning in the wheel from left to right. What would you do in a case when you start to feel kind of the wheels start to shake and you kind of get that uneasy feeling of things aren't quite what they should be.
Well, you definitely don't want to be pushing on the gas. You don't want to stomp on the brake. You can feather the brake, kind of lightly tap it. You can also put the vehicle in neutral, because then it quits trying to pull forward.
Okay.
While you're lightly tapping on the brake. If you do start to lose traction and your vehicle starts to go sideways, if you can turn into your skid, so turn the wheels the direction you want to go, and don't push on the gas, don't push on the brake, let the vehicle come back around straight.
So just like this.
Yes, turning into it.
Okay.
Come back around.
There we go.
Exactly like that. Yeah, I think that was your anti-lock brakes, so the vehicle's actually trying to assist you from not locking it up.
Now, how does ice compare to like a snowpack?
Ice, you get no traction.
Right.
Unless you got tire chains or cables on, you pretty much get no traction.
Braking on the ice, it's going to take you a lot longer to come to a stop.
You leave yourself a lot more space between the car in front of you.
That's kind of fun. Of course, the best thing to do is stay home, of course, if you can.
All right, great tips. Thank you, John. One thing you need to remember is when winter weather hits is preparing your car for the cold. Make sure you check all of your fluid, coolant oil, and wiper fluid. Refill it if you need to. Inspect and see if you need new tires. Also check the air. Low pressure and worn tires are dangerous on wet and slick roads. Get your battery checked. Battery capacity is reduced in the cold. Check your belts and hoses. Look for any signs of wear and tear and have them replaced if needed. Not only do you need to winterize your car, but it's a good idea to have a safety kit. Meteorologist Brandon Woolley walks us through what you need to have handy in this winter weather event.
Winter weather is almost upon us and you want to make sure your car is ready. These are just some of the essential items you should have in your car at all times to keep you safe during some severe winter weather. Come on to the front seat, and of course you want to make sure to have a good charger to charge up your cell phone. Also a working flashlight with extra batteries, preferably a flashlight that has a red beacon on it, just in case you need to send out an SOS signal. To the back seat here, of course, you need to keep warm as well. Have some handy hand warmers. Also, you want to make sure to have a beanie cap. Probably not a baseball cap, but this is probably the best thing to have to keep your head warm because that's where most of all the heat is being released from. So you want to make sure to cover the top of your head. Also, a coat to keep you warm throughout any weather situation you might find yourself in when you're in your car, and also a nice and warm blanket. So that will keep you very warm, the coat and also the hat as well. Back to the back here, you want to have some de-icer to help keep things clear, some booster cables in case you need to jump start your battery, an ice scraper to keep things clear, your windows clear so you can see good out your windows. And then this is also a great thing to have as well. This will inflate your tires. So if the tire pressure is not good, you can inflate your tires by plugging this into your cigarette lighter. In terms of food and water, it's always good to have water, preferably more water than this, but this is just to show you. And also some protein bars in case you get hungry. And last but not least, some chains. You never know when the snow is going to get really tough to go through. These are great to have in the back of your car. I'm meteorologist Brandon Woolley, 2Works for you.
If you were to break down or get into an accident, here are some reminders on how to stay safe. If you can try and get to the right side of the road and as far away from the traffic as possible. Stay in your car with your seatbelt on and put your hazards on. If you have a flare, use it. If not, you can try tying a bright piece of cloth to the antenna to try to grab someone's attention. Make sure your exhaust pipe is clear of snow so harmful carbon monoxide fumes don't drift back into your car. Your home should be a safe place during winter weather, but you must take the proper steps. Heating is the second leading cause of home fires in the United States. Most of the time it's from space heaters, and those fires are during December, January, and February.
So if you're going to use a space heater in your house, let's make sure it's an electric one. Make sure it's got an automatic shutoff, because even though you're careful, you can't control what your pets and your kids do, and if it gets knocked over, it's liable to start a fire.
Before winter hits, you also should have your chimney cleaned and inspected. An important thing to remember: if you lose power, don't bring the generators inside. Put it in the back of the yard, at least 25 feet away from your home, so the carbon monoxide doesn't migrate into your house. The winter weather for you means it's also cold for your pets. There is one guideline you need to follow to make sure they stay warm too. Plus, I break down the winter weather forecast and what you can expect this season in your neighborhood when 2Works for You comes back. The colder months aren't just tough for us, but you have to think about your pets too. Meteorologist Kirsten Horn has a good rule to live by. Kirsten?
It's an easy guideline. If you wouldn't leave your kids unprotected in the cold weather, then you shouldn't do that with your pets either. And while it may seem easy to remember, it doesn't always happen. Here are a few quick things to remember when preparing your pets for the cold. First, make sure they have adequate shelter.
Try to get a break from that north wind, get some bedding out there with them. If you have a dog house, make it available. Make sure it's cleaned out from whatever refuse might have been left over from the summer.
And despite it being so cold, our pets still need to stay hydrated.
Want to make sure that everybody has adequate, of course, amounts of food and water. Water's got to be available at all times.
And for those animals getting antsy to get outside and play, short, brisk walks are good for physical exercise.
We'll take them out midday. Make sure everybody's on the leash at all times. Make sure you have proper identification on your pet in case somebody was to get loose. Then we can get them back to their owner a lot easier. But even with extremes, just like people, everybody needs exercise.
One more thing is look at what you are feeding your pet. A protein-rich diet is important. It ensures they are getting all the nutrients they need to stay healthy and warm.
Just like during the spring storm season, in the winter, the National Weather Service issues alerts. For example, a winter storm warning, blizzard warning, or winter weather advisory. As meteorologist Brandon Woolley explains, it's now going to be easier for you to understand.
Starting this winter, the National Weather Service will be simplifying their winter alert messages. Here's a look at what it means for us in Green Country. Since there are so many different messages for winter weather, the NWS decided to consolidate the watch, warning, and advisory products.
Well, the entire idea is to try to take all that complex information and get it down into a simple to understand set of information. And of course, we communicate in much smaller bites now as a society, and so anything we can do to fit into what's becoming more normal is just something we try.
A blizzard watch will be consolidated into a winter storm watch, even though a blizzard watch has never been issued for the area. A watch will be issued when confidence is high that a significant winter weather event will impact the region. This includes heavy snow, sleet, ice, and/or blowing snow. Second, a freezing rain advisory will be consolidated into a winter weather advisory. So now an advisory will be issued when snow, blowing snow, ice, and/or sleet is expected.
Well, I think this becomes more concise. It's an effort to try to take a very complex storm situation and get it down to the fewest characters so that people that can at a glance get a sense for what's going on and then dig for more information if they want to.
Be on the lookout for this new wording, especially in winter weather advisories when the alert scrolls at the bottom of your screen in our ticker.
The past 2 winters were very warm. This year won't be the same. Here's what I'm expecting this winter. Winter in Oklahoma can always be challenging. From warm and dry conditions to extreme cold and blizzards hammering eastern Oklahoma. This winter will offer all sorts of wild weather. But first, we need to look at what is controlling our weather pattern. This year, La Nina is in control of the global pattern. But what is La Nina? La Nina is unusually cold ocean temperatures in the equatorial Pacific. It helps create a weather pattern that allows high pressure to build in the northern Pacific. This typically means that more cold shots will hit the United States. However, history does show that these cold spells typically miss Oklahoma and impact the eastern U.S. much harder than Oklahoma. But as we know, Oklahoma weather doesn't always like to follow a prescribed script. This year, I do believe this will be a much colder than normal winter, and we will see more bouts of winter precip that will have a great impact on our weather than in the past several years. So let's get right to my prediction. December. I'm predicting that around December 4th, we will see our first snowfall. I'm also predicting around 1 to 3 inches of snow and the possibility of ice for December. I wouldn't be surprised to see one storm beat my snowfall amounts around mid-December. January. January will start with slightly above normal temperatures with slightly drier than normal conditions. Therefore, January will have little snow through the first 20 days. After that, the last 10 days of January and the first 2 weeks of February will be the most challenging for eastern Oklahoma. We will have the potential for a significant snowfall and/or significant ice event. By mid-February, conditions will calm and temperatures will begin to level out and we will return to normal. March will give us one more good shot of snow, but temperatures overall will be above normal. So the total snowfall for the upcoming winter is 15 inches. The coldest temperature, -3 degrees. The coldest high, 12 degrees. The warmest day, 73 degrees. Coming up, it's important to stay fit during the winter, but it might not be ideal for running outside. But it's possible, and it's all about what you wear and when you hit the roads. One thing about the cold weather, it's hard to get motivated to step into that cold weather to work out, especially for runners. Meteorologist John Haverfield found out what to wear and when you should avoid taking that workout outside.
Frigid, bitter cold weather won't stop some runners from getting out and hitting the trails. For some, running in cold weather is even preferred. But there are a few tips runners need to keep in mind before braving the winter elements.
So the winter time, like the important things, like even when it's really cold, when it's 10 degrees, 15 degrees, and the wind's blowing, is to layer. So you always start with like a base layer, so it's the tight layer that you keep on the whole time. And then you can add over layers that, like a zip top or even like a windbreaker, so if it's windy you want to like cut that wind. You actually lose a lot of heat through the top of your head, so keeping a hat on your head will help you stay warm.
Even though running generally keeps your body heat going, sometimes it could be just too cold for you to run.
If you go out, you know, in lightweight stuff and it's, you know, 10 degrees, if it's 5 degrees, that's kind of where my threshold is when you're getting into the single digits. It does get a little dangerous on like exposed skin because it's almost always windy when it's that cold.
And when it comes to wintry precip, snow is good, ice is bad.
I think one of the real dangers we have to worry about is actually ice, because we don't get a ton of snow, and you can run in snow and it's great. I mean, if you're layered, you know, you're fine. But ice gets a little bit more tricky, so having things like Yax tracks, which are little clips you clip on the bottom of the shoe so you get traction in the ice. You can also make your homemade shoes. You can pull the insoles out and put screws in the bottom and make your own like spikes in the ice.
So before you lace up those running shoes, remember these simple tips to stay active despite what Old Man Winter throws our way. Meteorologist John Haverfield, 2Works for you.
We've talked about protecting you, your family, and your pets. But what do you do with the plants you've worked so hard on all summer long? The details next. Many of us work really hard to keep our yards looking green in the summer, but you have to make sure and put in the time when it's cold too. Meteorologist Taft Price finds out it's just as much work in the winter to protect those plants.
All right, Paul, wintertime is here. Tell us some of these tips that we need to think about with our gardens as we move on into the winter season.
One of the most important to me is mulch. Got to put a nice thick layer of mulch on the garden. It's going to insulate those root balls, stabilize soil temperatures. Your plants will be a lot happier. So 2 to 3 inch layer, maybe even 4 in some places, but don't forget the mulch. Beyond that, leaves. I've talked many times about the importance of leaves. Don't leave them on the grass, okay? Especially if you got a fescue lawn, leaves will mat down and they'll suffocate that grass. Use a mulching mower and incorporate those leaves back into the soil, or rake them, shred them if you can. If not, just pile them up, let them rot, and use that as compost for many, many, many growing seasons to come. You cannot do better than leaf mold when it comes to growing things.
Great tips as always, Paul, and you can always catch our In the Garden segments each and every Saturday morning on the 2 News Weekend Morning Show.
Thanks for joining us. Make sure you stay with the 2Works for You weather team for all of your winter weather coverage needs. Download our app, like our Facebook page, and keep it tuned right here on 2Works for You.